team and a tactical team that will fight this battle. Because if everyone, all the professionals and experts, and even those we speak with outside Nigeria, they say that the way this kind of battle is fought has got to be different from sending our soldiers who are used to fighting external aggression rather than internal one. So we need a team that is prepared and trained that will fight an internal insurgency. Is there any plan in the offing? Maybe there is one still in the works that you might want to tell us about.
Well, such development will be appropriately disclosed when the political situation is right for it. I mean, both political and strategic situation. I think I said as much as assuring you that some level of structures are already even working on ground in the spirit you're talking about. Maybe I should chip in something at this level, that the situation we are facing has led to a situation where we have synergy not just within the country but with our neighbors as well as the international community. We have been having a series of interaction because terrorism itself is across borders. When these terrorists operate, they don't recognize or operate in line with borders. And that has made us to also work out means of relating with our closest neighbors to see how we can key in our operations and ensure that they don't have freedom of action, particularly along our borders, and attack our communities that are closest to the borders. This has achieved a good mileage recently, and we also believe in that in the year 2015, most of the groundwork that have been laid this year will bring forth the required fruits to enhance the security both within our country and in the sub-region.
One or two things he's mentioned that Major General Olukolade has mentioned.
Well, I say again that for people like the Major General, one cannot but feel pained in that I don't think really it is his fault or the level of command at which he is operating. I think the problems we are having are coming from a much different level, so to speak. I was fortunate because of the constituency that I represent, for instance, and I've worked with primarily, to be one of the people who was in Washington in 2012 when we foresaw the escalation and the phase of what we call soft targets. When we foresaw that and we realized the lack of readiness of the nation, there was a team that was put together and we went into Washington to lobby for an FTO designation for the Boko Haram at that time. Now, interestingly, you'd realize that in Nigeria, it was a very unpopular move at that time because the escalation had not yet come. But if a medical doctor must always wait until his patient is almost dead before he recognizes what to do in advance and what to do next, we're going to be in trouble. Now, this is interesting that even after Nigeria was able to get an FTO into place, after a long-drawn battle, as it were, at the international scene, when the FTO came into place and foreign nations moved into Nigeria to assist, you will find out that the most worrisome development is that forces within this country thoroughly neutralized a lot of the synergy that we should have enjoyed. Which tells you something. One of the symptoms of terrorism, the new type of terrorism, the new model that is ravaging the world right now, is the fact that it believes a lot in infiltration. And when we're talking about infiltration, you begin to realize that voice shooting guns are the least dangerous in that chain, in the terror chain. We're looking at the fact that there are people in high places. We're looking at the fact that global terrorism today will sponsor people to take up positions even in security. And what happens when you have security systems that are compromised is that it becomes very, very disheartening for the people that you command. If, for instance, you look at the Nigerian police force system, and wittingly or unwittingly, you put a Boko Haram member as the Inspector General of Police of a pyramidal structure, what you have done without knowing is handed over the nation's defense, as far as the police is concerned, into the hand of the Boko Haram. Now, if we're looking at the very intelligent approach of terrorism, you'd realize that also the Boko Haram has not been sleeping. This is something that's been working for the past 30, 40 years. You expect that they would have people placed in the army, they'd have people in the navy, they'd have people in the security services, and it becomes very difficult when the genuine patriots who are within the security services are trying their best to push the nation forward. And you have moles within that are not yet detected. The second one that bothered us a lot, remember that when the girls were kidnapped, it took the nation a long time to admit that a kidnapping had happened. As a matter of fact, I can tell you that part of the work we had to do then was to bring in the mothers from Chibok and the girls who escaped from Sambisa and put them on TV, on channels here. And that's when people finally believed that the girls had been kidnapped. What was worrisome was that in high places, there was actually a belief that there was no kidnapping. Now, what does that tell you for people who understand counterterrorism? What does it tell you about the structure that is in place in Nigeria? It tells us that we need a special body to move quickly, that understands this thing, to cleanse the stables, to help to establish who is on which side. Because if we continue this narrative, the narrative that we're following right now is not a narrative that is going to bear good for this nation at all.
Okay, so when you absolve the Nigerian Army and defense structure, including Major General Olukolade and all his peers and those who are working and putting their lives on the line, if you absolve them of the blame to a large extent,
Yes.
would you then say that all of this is happening because of a lack of political will or because of a disconnect within the political structure and leadership structure of Nigeria?
Now, let us not play with the lives of the young boys that are dying on a daily basis like fleas. Let us not play with the blood of Nigerian citizens who ought to be alive to see tomorrow. The truth is this: if the truth be told, and we look at this terrorism challenge we're having, it had been developing through the years. It's been more than 30, 40 years. If you concatenate, you can see that it was a progression. We were asleep to it. So frankly speaking, we cannot blame the incumbent government right now. We cannot put all the responsibility on the government of Jonathan Ebere Goodluck. However, history is going to be very unkind to him, because it so happens that it was during his tenure that terrorism matured to the point where they're hitting soft targets, and of course they're going to go to the next level soon. And when it came to pass in his tenure, I keep saying something, the present president of Nigeria is a man of compromise. He's a man who likes to accommodate. And in any other country, and in any other time, he would have been a great asset. But the kind of challenges that we have at the moment, we need a C in C who is able to look squarely, strategically, and boldly. So if you have moles within government in any place, there's a way to go about it. You weed them out. If you have those who are blocking Nigeria, I'm going to tell you that I was almost ashamed in Washington, when we got into Washington, the view expressed about our government at that time by so-called experts who came to testify at the hearing. I almost covered I was just a minor member of the team sitting somewhere at the back, so I was able to watch what was going on. I almost wept when I looked at the portrait of the Nigerian president that was being painted in those circles. So if the truth be told, the buck stops at the table of the Nigerian president. 2.5 years ago, we said to him, you are a wartime president, go for a declaration of war, get the sweeping powers that comes with the president at war, and then we can handle this thing. It's a new kind of war. As long as we continue in this path that we are taking, especially like my friend and I were discussing, the fact that this Christmas has been quiet is alarming.
Okay, yeah, we've got to immediately go back to Major General Chris Olukolade and say, based on what Reverend Ladi Thompson has just said, would you say that the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Defense Authority, the defense mechanism has been given the right support and everything that you require by the federal government? Or are there aspects or issues or things that you require that you still haven't gotten,